How does Bitcoin work? You don't need an understanding of Bitcoin's technological underpinnings to get started using it as a new user. After you have downloaded and installed a Bitcoin wallet on your desktop computer or mobile device, it will automatically produce your first Bitcoin address, and you will be able to establish more Bitcoin addresses anytime you require them. You have the option of letting your friends have access to your addresses so that they can pay you or vice versa. The operation of Bitcoin is quite comparable to that of email, with the exception that Bitcoin addresses should only be used once. The blockchain is a public and shared record that is essential to the functioning of the Bitcoin network as a whole. The blockchain contains a record of all transactions that have been validated. It enables Bitcoin wallets to calculate their spendable balance, which enables new transactions to be confirmed, which in turn ensures that the spender is the legitimate owner of the funds being spent. Cryptography is used to ensure that the blockchain retains both its completeness and its proper chronological sequence. A transaction is the movement of value from one Bitcoin wallet to another, that is recorded in the distributed public ledger known as the blockchain. Bitcoin wallets are responsible for keeping a private key, also known as a seed, which is a piece of confidential data. This data is used to sign transactions, which provides mathematical proof that the transactions originated from the owner of the wallet. Once the transaction has been issued, the signature makes it impossible for anyone to change the details of the transaction. The term mining refers to the process by which all transactions are announced to the network and, generally speaking, begin to be confirmed within 10 to 20 minutes. Mining is a decentralized consensus process that verifies pending transactions by adding them to a sequence of previously validated transactions known as the blockchain. It safeguards the impartiality of the network, preserves the chronological order of the blockchain, and enables computers from different locations to reach a consensus regarding the current state of the system. Transactions have to be bundled up into a block that complies with very stringent cryptographic constraints, and then the block has to be validated by the network before it can be considered confirmed. Because changing an earlier block would render all of the blocks that came after it invalid, these rules prohibit making any changes to the blocks that came before. Mining also generates an equivalent of a competitive lottery, which prevents any individual from easily adding new blocks consecutively to the blockchain. This serves to protect the integrity of the blockchain. Because of this, no individual or group may exercise control over the information that is included in the blockchain or replace any of the blockchain's components to retrace their spending. Bitcoin is a decentralized kind of digital currency that was designed to do away with the need for centralized institutions like banks and governments. Instead, Bitcoin relies on the distributed ledger technology known as blockchain to facilitate peer-to-peer transactions between users on its decentralized network. The proof-of-work consensus mechanism of Bitcoin is responsible for the authentication of transactions. Miners of cryptocurrencies are rewarded for their labor in validating transactions. First implemented in 2009 by an anonymous programmer going by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. The new category of assets known as cryptocurrencies was founded with the introduction of Bitcoin, BTC, which is still the most valuable of all cryptocurrencies. Each Bitcoin is a digital asset that may be kept in a digital wallet or traded for other cryptocurrencies on a cryptocurrency exchange. You can possess partial shares of each coin, and each coin itself symbolizes the value of the current price of Bitcoin. However, you can only own one coin at a time. The smallest possible unit of Bitcoin is called a Satoshi, after its inventor Satoshi Nakamoto, who also gave his name to the unit. Because one Satoshi is equal to 100 millionth of one Bitcoin, it is fairly common for people to acquire fractional shares of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is driven by a piece of open source code known as the blockchain, which produces a shared public history of transactions. These transactions are arranged into blocks, which are then chained together to prevent tampering. Blockchain is the underlying technology behind Bitcoin. This technology generates a permanent record of each transaction, and it offers a means by which all Bitcoin users can conduct their business with a shared comprehension of who is the owner of what. Keys, both public and private. A Bitcoin wallet will have both a public key and a private key stored within it. These keys will allow the owner of the wallet to digitally sign transactions and also start new transactions. This allows for the primary function of Bitcoin, which is the secure transfer of ownership from one user to another, to be accessed. Bitcoin mining. Users on the Bitcoin network verify transactions using a process known as mining. This procedure, which is designed to check that new transactions are consistent with prior transactions that have been completed in the past, is referred to as mining. Because of this, it will be impossible for you to spend a Bitcoin that you do not possess or that you have already used. How does Bitcoin get its revenue? The creation of new Bitcoins is an integral aspect of the process known as Bitcoin mining, in which existing Bitcoins are distributed as a lucrative reward to those who run computer systems that contribute to the validation of transactions. Bitcoin miners are the owners of high-speed computers that independently confirm each transaction and add a completed block of transactions to the ever-growing chain of transactions. Miners are also referred to as nodes in the Bitcoin community. The blockchain that has been produced as a consequence is an exhaustive, open, and immutable record of every Bitcoin transaction. After that, miners are rewarded for their efforts in the form of Bitcoin, which provides an incentive for the decentralized network to independently validate each transaction. Proof of work is a process that requires the majority of miners to verify the authenticity of each block of data before it can be added to the blockchain. This independent network of miners also reduces the likelihood that fraudulent or false information will be recorded, as a result of the fact that each block of data must be verified. When you buy cryptocurrencies, you are putting yourself into a highly volatile asset class. A general rule of thumb is to only allocate a small portion of a diversified portfolio to high-risk assets such as Bitcoin or individual stocks. This is because these types of investments can be volatile. But, before deciding whether or not Bitcoin is a good investment for you, it is important to be aware of both the cryptocurrency's advantages and disadvantages, which are outlined here. Bitcoin's advantages. Transactions that are quick and efficient about cost. When you possess Bitcoin, you may make transactions whenever you want, anywhere you want, which cuts down on the amount of time and potential costs associated with any transaction. Privacy. There is no personally identifiable information included in the transactions, such as a name or credit card number. Even though it is still possible to trace a certain individual to a specific wallet, transactions are often more private than other types of transactions, such as transactions involving credit cards. Decentralization. With the global financial crisis and the subsequent Great Recession, several investors are keen to adopt an alternative, decentralized currency. This type of money is fundamentally free from the influence of traditional banks, governing bodies, and other third parties. The possibility of growth. Some investors who buy and keep the currency are placing bets that, once Bitcoin reaches maturity, greater confidence and more widespread use will follow, and that as a result, Bitcoin's value will increase. Even though there have been several high-profile thefts, proponents of Bitcoin maintain that the blockchain technology that underpins Bitcoin is even more secure than conventional electronic money transactions. For example, in May of 2019, more than $40 million worth of Bitcoin was taken from several high-net worth accounts on the cryptocurrency market Binance. This is the end of today's video. Do you find it helpful? Must give your response in our comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos.